The lockdown was indeed a trying period for most people, especially as COVID-19 caught the world off guard. Notwithstanding, the battle against COVID-19 rages on. And moving on now, the Nigerian government rolled out guidelines to mitigate infections and checkmate community transmission of coronavirus. We shall be examining the critical aspect of the guidelines with special focus on social conducts at home, in the public, and even at workplaces. I'm on top of that report, and it's coming your way right now. It is a breath of fresh air for many Nigerians since the lockdown was partially lifted in some parts of the country. Businesses have since reopened in key urban areas in a bid to restart Africa's largest economy. The stay-at-home directive, which commenced on the 30th of March in Lagos, Ogun State, and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, was very clearly defined in terms of implementation and compliance by all, with exception to frontline workers and essential service providers. However, the partial lifting of the lockdown has been received with mixed feelings, with some totally supporting the decision and others expressing reservations, especially with the surge of community transmission. The guidelines in a nutshell include a nationwide nighttime curfew between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m., prohibition of movement in and out of states. The ban on large gathering is still in place, and people are also required to wear face masks in public places. Officers on grade level 14 and above have been directed to return to work 3 times a week and close at 2 p.m. with strict adherence to social distancing, wearing of face masks and washing of hands regularly strongly advised. The guidelines also include reduction of number of passengers in commercial buses and private vehicles. The government says this first phase will be reassessed to determine the next line of action. President Muhammadu Buhari, in one of his nationwide address, recognized the economic difficulties that the lockdown has caused, acknowledging that many citizens have lost their source of livelihood, with many businesses shutting down.
In line with the recommendation of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, the various federal government committees that have reviewed socio-economic matters and the Nigerian Governors Forum, I have approved a phased and gradual easing of lockdown measures in FCT, Lagos, and Ogun State, effective from Monday, 4th of May 2020. However, this will be followed strictly with aggressive reinforcement of testing and contact tracing measures, while allowing the restoration of some economic and business activities in certain sectors.
The federal government has since reversed its budget for the year, slashing its revenue projection by about 40% and applying for emergency support from the International Monetary Fund. Key players say the easing of the lockdown was a tussle between saving Nigeria's fragile economy and an ailing health sector battling a deadly virus.
The world is undergoing a challenge now, and it's a big challenge. The pandemic is quite serious, and the only way to go about it is to make sure that we prevent community transmission. This lockdown has helped tremendously, but unfortunately, we have to ease it a little bit. Easing it based on the kind of people we have in the society. We have people that are daily earning their feeding, and it could be quite unfortunate if they don't have their means of feeding. So, understandably, government has to ease it down. Understandably, the Ramadan period has also come to coincide with the period of lockdown. But unfortunately, people are not complying with the simple social distancing. It is very imperative that everybody should keep a social distance. I see buses, I see vehicles with people moving around, clustered together. I was in Karu and parts of Jukwe and other a few days ago. People are going about their normal businesses. Markets are jam-packed. My wife went to the market even before the lockdown was eased, and the story she told me is not very comfortable. We feel that people should be encouraged. The enlightenment should continue. I'm glad that the NT is taking it upon herself to do this. All social medias, all electronic medias, print medias must all be involved in this collective fight. Nigeria cannot afford, with over 2 million Nigerians, we cannot afford, because by the time it spreads to other areas, the local government and other areas, it's not going to be helpful to us. So we encourage government to still continue with enlightenment. People should please respect. Yesterday, I sent my driver to the bank. There were over 700 people and no social distancing. And people are even breaking the rules. People are fighting. People don't want their temperature checked. People don't want to use hand sanitizers. People don't want to wash their hands. Little wonder the Secretary of Government of the Federation, who is the chairman of the PTF, is thinking of maybe reversing the orders that have been given. So we must encourage people to obey the simple instructions.
Well, trying to comply to all the orders and thank God for life, and safety is the most important thing. So celebrating it, being at home or being in the office, I think I still feel good.
Definitely you're not going to organize party.
Of course, there's nothing like party. Of course.
Where would they so? They handwork people. If we no work, we no go fit eat. And nothing there for us to eat. We no go sit down for us where food go come meet us, no work. Yes, like somebody like me, I used to tell people that they should wear their face mask. The thing is serious, it's everywhere.
So this boy is standing by your side. Look at him. Come and show me. He's not wearing. So
Everybody has his own lifestyle to live now. Everybody has his own, he or her own lifestyle to live. That's why I don't want to wear those masks. So most people, they don't take their life important. So people like us that wear those masks, we are not fool.
Other respondents also gave their own opinion.
NTA now, it came with car now. If this car broke down, I'm selling motor, I'm into automobile. If this car broke down, how do you do? It's supposed to include us for essential duty. Because even the task force, the presidential task force, they are moving with car. Police are moving with car. The COVID, the people are going and taking tests from the people, they are moving with car. It's supposed to include us, even though 3 days in a week.
The government have also emphasized the need to use personal protective equipment to mitigate the spread of the coronavirus.
Thank God all of us in this room, about 5 of us with good social distancing already doing it. That is one of them. Use your face mask. If I don't wash my hands or sanitize my hands, I have sanitizer by my bed. I have the 3 in my room. It's in my bag. Immediately I stand up, I'm sanitizing my hand. I'm cleaning my decks. The use of hand glove is good, but if you don't use it properly, it can cause more harm to you. You use hand glove, you touch these decks, you touch your phone, you touch doorknobs, you touch your car door. So I don't encourage people to use hand gloves except you are properly trained to use it, and even how to take it and remove it, how to wear it, how to remove it, and then discard it. So, face mask, even the face mask, how to use it. When you're going to remove it, you don't touch this area that is on our face, our mouth, and our nose. You only touch the string. And you take it off gradually and fold it and discard it. And immediately you are discarding it in a safe place, you must wash your hand. The hand glove that you touch everywhere and continue to use, and then later on you remove, and then you touch your face. And when you remove, you don't even take. People must be conscious of it. Social distancing must be. Left to me, schools should not open, churches should remain closed, mosques should remain closed. Even sports, especially team sports, must not be encouraged at this stage. And then in vehicles, limited number of people should be taken at a time. I don't know how people can subsidize, how government can help those people with vehicles. Thank God they are reducing the prices of petroleum and fuel. If they can further do this, and other palliatives that can reach out to the community to help them remain at home, because 70% of Nigerians feed daily. If you can give them provision on how to feed and remain at home and then keep social distancing, it will go a long way helping to contain this level of, because we are now at the community level where transmission is going to be spreading at that level.
All residents of Kaduna State are quarantined and must stay at home. No office, event center, market, shop or business of any sort or place of worship is allowed to open. The only category of persons exempted are workers in essential services
We are supposed to go out and come back by 2 o'clock. And now, if one spends all this time on the road and he has not even reached the office, then yes, to a certain extent, the purpose may have been defeated.
Honestly, it was so very boring, but at least today I'm just okay. I'm very happy. At least we are going out today.
It wasn't easy, you know. It's also somebody that somebody that has no freedom. You can see now there's a movement. At least we are happy.
It wasn't really easy, but it was for our own good.
We say we use your mask, social distance to ourselves, wash our hands, close everything. As you see us there now, everybody with our mask here.
Yes, as a doctor, I believe that this thing will be with us for a while because this kind of pandemic spreads and then it goes through what we call its course, its natural history, and then eventually it will disappear. We pray that we should get vaccine. The government should also look into, thank God they are trying to improve on the health sector generally. We must help to improve our health sectors. We must always be prepared for this. The use of PPEs are quite expensive, and government should also try and see how they can subsidize provision of PPEs. In the health sectors, the government should encourage us. We should not be the one trying to go to them and ask them to help us. They should help us to see how we can also help. Government alone cannot do it. They should find a way of equipping big centers like this and big centers all over the country, private hospitals to be able to function well and then encouragement. I'm glad that they are looking into the hazard allowance in those government hospitals. They are looking at other welfare packages for the welfare for all health workers, not just doctors, nurses. Let's report across the board. Everybody playing one role or the other. Government should look into helping them and supporting them in this very difficult situation in which we find ourselves.
Disturbingly, the restriction of movement order is being flouted by some citizens with records of some Nigerians apprehended by law enforcement agents. The question is, what can be done to change the narrative?
It's quite sad. Gradually, awareness is beginning to come in. The multiple deaths, the high social deaths, the high people in the society that are also contracting this condition, awareness. That's, we keep on educating and encouraging people. Without awareness, people will not know, and by the time some are affected also, which is not good. I don't want people to be affected.
Yes.
Affection is now making people to be. I know a patient who repeatedly, even before February 27th, 2020, that we experienced the first case in Nigeria. I've been telling her this thing is real. She didn't believe me. Now she's the one wearing hand gloves coming to my office. She even started wearing face masks before I started wearing mine, because I have a very restricted place in my office and all that, my consulting room. So awareness has come now to the level that people are beginning to know. Let it not get to a level where you are affected, your friend is affected, your family member is affected before you start taking precaution. The thing is real. We are seeing it. The figures are rising. Over 3.6 million people over the world. The amount of dead, number of dead people are also increasing by the day. So we need to continue to educate.
The need to imbibe general precautions that must be adopted by all to keep everyone safe cannot be overemphasized. While scientists comb the medical space for a cure, citizens have been enjoined to play their part in containing the spread. It's obvious that the task of kicking COVID-19 out of Nigeria is a collective responsibility. Remember, coronavirus doesn't move unless you move. So do the needful by adhering to all precautionary measures put in place by the relevant authorities. And on that note, we thank you for being part of 30 Minutes. I hope it was worth the while. Be smart by staying safe. See you next time. I'm Lydia Samson.
In the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, information management is key.
I'm Cyril Stober.
Fatima Umar Buba.
Joseph Johnson.
Ian Ray John.
Muhammad Kudu Abubakar.
Jumbo Yusuf.
My name is Kirian Umaya.
Here in NTA, we're working very hard to make sure that everything we broadcast is accurate and up to date. misinformation spreads very fast.
The social media has been a huge conveyor of misleading information from one individual to another, then to another set of groups. In a short while, it goes viral, and before you know it, it is all over the world.
There have been several misleading information on coronavirus COVID-19. Recently, the misconception of 5G as a cause of coronavirus is becoming widespread. Another is the belief that hot beverages and alcoholic drinks are internal cleanser for COVID-19, thereby leading to excessive consumption of these drinks.
The use of local concoctions as treatment for COVID-19 are yet to be scientifically proven. However, there has been several theories about the efficacies of these concoctions. We should stay safe and denounce all manner of fake news and misleading information on COVID-19.
For medical advice, go on the WHO website, Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC website, or stick with the advisories from the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 or other authentic official sources. NTA is one of them.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me remind us all that this pandemic is spreading like wildfire. We must all arise to fight this potent and invisible common enemy by adhering to the guidelines and protocols for COVID-19, which includes personal hygiene, social distancing. We must wear masks in public places, obeying the stay-at-home order, and reporting unusual illness to the authorities for investigation.
The main way coronavirus spread is when infected people sneeze and cough. Small droplets of fluid expelled by cough or sneezes are laced with viruses looking for new respiratory tracts to infect. When a sick person sneezes around someone who is healthy, the virus can land in the nose, mouth, or even the eyes, causing an infection. Symptoms can include fever, cough, shortness of breath. Symptoms may appear within 2 to 14 days.
National Economic Council meets on effects of COVID-19 in the country.
We'll go into recession. Which camera am I using? So that it is shallow, so that we'll be able to quickly pull out of it come 2021.
Center for Disease Control confirms 339 new cases of COVID-19, bringing the total number of infections to 7,016.
Chairman of PTF on COVID-19, Boss Mustafa, urges citizens to take responsibility on maintaining physical hygiene during the Salah holidays.
As we celebrate, we want to once again caution on the need to wear a mask, keep physical distancing.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss COVID-19 and Eid al-Fitr.
All right, as usual, we're starting off with a popular quote. Well, not too popular. And it goes like this: one who is seized with terror fright, and madness during the night is visited or is said to, be visited by Luna, that is the Roman goddess of the moon. And that was by Hippocrates, that's father of modern medicine. But back in ancient times, Roman mythology associated the moon with metaphysical abilities that was said to have transformed some people into weird creatures, of course, like werewolves.
Now, the moon is also regarded as man's most loyal companion, and beyond the rising and the setting of the sun, which determines the pace of each day, the moon also provides a second source of light to keep time beyond a single day or night, and has been a very reliable marker of time for some religious festivals.
Precisely. Now, specifically in Islam, Muslims look out for the first crescent moon to determine the Hilal and Eid al-Fitr, which of course is the beginning and end of Ramadan fast. Now, it is expected that by the end of today, Muslims all over the world will mark Eid al-Fitr celebration.
But while preparations are ongoing, the event, of course, will be marked amidst lockdown measures stipulated by various governments, and this is on account of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, as part of efforts to contain the further spread of the virus, Muslim authorities across the world have expanded restrictions on large gatherings. And some predominantly Muslim countries such as Turkey, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia have even extended the curfew in their respective countries for the entirety of the Eid celebration.
And reports from Al-Azhar University in Egypt, which is considered the seat of Sunni Islamic thought, issued a fatwa, that's a decree, that Eid prayers be conducted at home to protect lives of citizens. And in Germany, chairman of the Central Council of Muslims is reported to have said, and I quote, "It is our religious obligation to take upon ourselves these painful cuts during the coronavirus pandemic, especially in the communal practice of religion, for the protection of our fellow human beings," unquote.
Now, back home in Nigeria, some state governors have been amending the national lockdown directives. And it's been back and forth between the Council of Ulamas and some state governors over decisions to lift the ban on the precautionary measures intended to contain community spread of COVID-19. Some state governors in the north, specifically Bauchi, Kano, Yobe, Borno, Jigawa, and Gombe, as well as Zamfara, have asked their citizens to observe the congregational Eid prayers.
Well, Kingsley, and of course the relaxation of the protocols comes amidst rising cases of the disease in Nigeria. We know that so far, as at early this morning, there are more than 7,000 positive cases of COVID-19 in the country, with over 200 deaths, as reported by the NCDC. But also, just to add that the Sultan of Sokoto has admonished Muslims all over the country to comply with the federal government's protocols on containing the spread of the virus. So it is against this background that we focus on Eid al-Fitr celebration in a COVID-19 pandemic on Good Morning Nigeria today. I want to thank all of you, wherever you're joining us from, Abuja, Nigeria, and outside the country. I am Claire Adilabu Abdurrazak.
Our conversation will also deal with the implications of the measures being adopted by some state governors, and of course try to identify what spiritual gaps there might be for those who will be observing the Eid at home. I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I join my colleague Claire to also welcome you to the program, being broadcast live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority.
And in a moment, we'll be joining Chimobi Walter Naji for highlights of the morning news. Then there'll be business news, and much later, Bayatebe will join us for the newspaper review. So, time to hand over to Chimobi for the morning news. Chimobi, good morning.
Hello, good morning to you, Claire and Kingsley. It's good to see you this morning. Good morning, Nigeria. And here is the morning news. It is now crystal clear that the country is heading for an economic recession as projected by the National Bureau of Statistics as a result of the negative impact of the coronavirus pandemic. But with the current fiscal stimulus plan to sustain the economy, this may be short-lived, and the federal government says it is as well committed to supporting the financial viability of states despite the dwindling revenues and foreign earnings. The World Bank is also proposing a plan of $1.5 billion for the 36 states of the Federation, which disbursements within the next 3 months will be based on performance of its existing World Bank financed programs in the such states. Now, these were made known at a virtual meeting of the National Economic Council held this Thursday.
Reduce the impact of that recession. And if we apply all that has been proposed and we're able to implement it, we might end up with a recession that is minus 0.4%. So in any case, we'll go into a recession. What we're trying to do is to make sure that it is shallow so that we'll be able to quickly pull out of it come 2021.
And in the meantime, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has announced 339 new cases of COVID-19 in Nigeria, increasing the total number of confirmed cases to 7,016. Now, of the 339 new cases, 139 are in Lagos, 28 are in Kano and Oyo, 25 in Edo, 22 in Katsina, 18 in Kaduna, 14 in Jigawa, 13 in Yobe State and Plateau, while 11 in the FCT, 8 in Gombe, and 5 in Ogun. And you have 4 in Bauchi and Nasarawa State. Now, 3 in Delta, 2 in Ondo, and 1 in Rivers and Adamawa State. And Lagos State now has a total of 3,093 cases, followed by Kano with 875, while the FCT has 446 confirmed cases. In total, there are 4,898 active cases, while 1,907 patients have been discharged, with 211 deaths recorded so far. In other stories now, the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 has urged state governments and other subnational entities to diligently implement all guidelines and refrain from relaxing restrictions which could set back the gains already made in the fight against COVID-19. It was reported that Chairman of the PTF, Boss Mustafa, is urging citizens to take responsibility on personal hygiene during the Salah holidays.
Once again, caution on the need to wear a mask, keep physical distancing, avoid large congregations, avoid unnecessary interstate travels, and observe personal hygiene, amongst other suggested safety measures.
Within state borders, the restrictions relating to reduced occupancy for buses, taxis, and tricycles will be maintained.
We're thinking about community management. We're thinking about home isolation. We haven't come out with any definite policy on this, but we are thinking about these things because we have to.
In the meantime, 25 orphanages in the FCT have joined the list of beneficiaries of palliatives by the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development as part of its COVID-19 response outreach to the poor and vulnerable in the area. The flag-off was done at a Nawim orphanage in Gwagwalada Area Council.
Opens, I think, is not only just provide the food items, but it touches the heart and mind. And these young boys and the girls, I hope one day they will become the leaders of our country.
Just last week, I went to the storeroom. It was empty because for the past 2 months, we have not been receiving gifts. So this foodstuff you are provided will go a very long way for us.
I feel happy. So I thank God for them bringing the things, and may God protect you.
And as part of measures to halt the spread of the novel COVID-19 and reduce the rate of unemployment among women and youths, National Directorate of Employment, NDE, Kano, in collaboration with the Future Assured Initiative of Wife of the President, have commenced production of 20,000 face masks. The effort is also to facilitate effective compliance with the state government's directive, which makes the use of face masks compulsory by all and sundry in the state.
We want to produce for people because some people don't have money to buy it.
One of the major advices had always been that people should wear face mask because it mitigates the spread greatly.
The National Emergency Management Agency says it has so far distributed more than 20,000 metric tons of grains to Lagos, Ogun, and FCT and Kano State. The government agency says it will continue with distribution of grains of 20 additional states battling with the spread of COVID-19. Directorate of Relief and Rehabilitation of NEMA stated this while briefing journalists on the distribution pattern soon after the inaugural meeting of the new DG with the directors of the agency. 24 states have been earmarked to benefit from the distribution of the grains as directed by the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadiya Umar Farouk.
Metric tons, millet 1,380 metric tons, sorghum 1,710 metric tons.
The National Interreligious Committee is sustaining prayers for the recovery of the economy for stability, good governance and Nigeria's national development, as well as praying for the world to defeat COVID-19. The virtual prayers brought together clerics from across the country.
I pray to Almighty Allah, the creator of heaven and earth, the most beneficent, the most merciful, to guide us aright, to save us from this pandemic.
We have come to you at this moment because of the situation that our world is in. We have found ourselves being ravaged by COVID-19. We are calling upon you that you will help us to experience your compassion.
Now, the federal government has declared Monday 25th and Tuesday 26th May 2020 as public holidays to mark this year's Eid al-Fitr celebration. The Minister of Interior, Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola, who made the declaration on behalf of the federal government, congratulated all Muslim faithful for the successful completion of the Ramadan fast. Aregbesola, who called on them to replicate the life of kindness, love, tolerance, peace, and good neighborliness as exemplified by the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be unto him. All right, and those are the news highlights for now. And Good Morning Nigeria continues with Claire and Kingsley just after the break. I'm Chiwobi Walter Naji. Good morning.
The main way coronavirus spread is when infected people sneeze and cough. Small droplets of fluid expelled by cough or sneezes are laced with viruses looking for new respiratory tracts to infect. When a sick person sneezes around someone who is healthy, the virus can land in the nose, mouth, or even the eyes, causing an infection. Symptoms can include fever, cough, shortness of breath. Symptoms may appear within 2 to 14 days. Seek medical advice if you develop symptoms and have been in close contact with a person known to have COVID-19, or if you live or have recently been in an area with ongoing spread of COVID-19. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network. In this time of despair, our country, Nigeria, needs us now more than ever. We stand a chance to save our great country, Nigeria. A chance to rise up from this pandemic stronger and better. What will be the gain if we do not learn from other countries and observe the lockdown to stop the further spread of the virus? If we loosen our guards and allow this virus doom our very existence, then what have we gained? This is the call to every Nigerian to unite as one and stop the spread of this deadly virus. Stay at home and stay safe. Remember, the virus doesn't move unless we move. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network. We have observed the lockdown. We have practiced the measures in order to curb the spread of the virus, but we can do better. The coronavirus spread is increasing daily, and only together can we cut down the numbers and defeat the spread of the virus. Remember, COVID-19 is not a death sentence, and a recovered patient cannot spread the disease. Do not stigmatize. Do not hesitate to report any case, or if you have come in contact with anybody that has been infected with COVID-19. If you have cough and fever, please stay at home and call your state hotline. Find state numbers at www.covid19.ncdc.gov.ng. Remember, it is for your own good and for the good of every Nigerian. Let us do better and defeat the virus. Together, we can do this. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
Do you not know that our enemies have no face? They are indigents of no state. They come from no place. And if this boat capsizes, every one of us will go under. So when the drums sound, let everybody answer. Do not say, I am the Iroko when the forest is burning. Do not say, I am the Obeche when the forest is burning. Our differences will not stop us from perishing together. So when the drums sound, let everybody answer.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria, reaching you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Now it's time for us to take some business stories with our correspondent Abdulkarim Zurmi, talking about the issues relating to the gradual reopening of the economy.
The restrictions notwithstanding, business owners are enthused with the easing of the lockdown and are adopting measures and observing protocols to cater for the safety of their staff and customers.
With the reopenings that are taking place in most of the states, obviously it's proof positive that the government have the people in mind, and also that the agency saddled with the responsibility to look after these issues are actually doing their best to unraveling the matters. So I would like to commend the government, and we also trust further that we'll have more openings from other sectors of the economy.
Meanwhile, the Consumer Price Index, which measures inflation, increased by 12.34% in April 2020 with 0.09% point raise from 11.62% recorded in March 2020. The urban inflation rate increased by 13.01% from 12.93% year-on-year and 1.06% from 0.88% month-on-month, while the rural is 11.73% from 11.64% year-on-year and 0.98% from 0.80% month-on-month. The increase in food index is due to rise in prices of potatoes, yam and other tubers, bread and cereals, fish, oils and fats, meats, fruits as well as vegetables. Whereas core inflation without the prices of unstable agricultural produce stood at 9.98% in April 2020, up by 0.25%. Now let's head to the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange to see how the market fared on Thursday, 21st of July, 2020. With business news, Abdulkarim Zurmi.
All right, let's take you further into the program as we introduce newspaper review.
newspaper reviewer Bayo Tebe is right here with us in the studios for today's session. Bayo, good morning and welcome.
Thank you, Kingsley. Good morning. Good morning, Claire. Good morning, Nigeria. Good to see you too.
All right, let's begin with the Punch newspaper. The window page above the nameplate says inflation hit 2-year high at 12.34% in April, and that's attributed to the NBS, that's the National Bureau of Statistics. Details can be found on page 19. Observe Salah prayers at home, Sultan tells Muslims again. That's page 10. 10 trillion naira spent on fuel subsidy in 15 years, and that's according to marketers. Nigerians evading tax on foreign properties risk prosecution. It is on page 12. And the latest story says, with a double-decker headline, federal government asks churches, mosques, and others to submit guidelines for reopening. With 3 riders, governors to partner presidential task force for reopening of the economy. Nigerians purchasing chloroquine in large quantities, PTF cries out. Churches and mosques reopen in Benue, and civil servants resume June 1st. And then you'll see the photographs there on the front page of the Punch newspaper. It says a human disinfectant machine at the entrance of the administration wing of the presidential villa in Abuja on Thursday. And that photograph is there on the front page. I think there was something designed and produced by Naseni in terms of this human disinfectant, automatic, that you walk through it. It's also very safe, according to Naseni. I wouldn't know whether this is what has been installed now in the presidential villa. Armed men invade Abuja communities, kill 3, rob residents. That's pages 4 and 5. Raw accepts new 2-year deal to coach Super Eagles. That's page 31. Federal government declares Monday and Tuesday Eid al-Fitr holidays. Kano youth who abducted and impregnated S.A. Oruru jailed 26 years. That story is on page 11. And Bauchi, 18-year-old, kills husband. And that's after 11 days of marriage. Details on page 5. 40 infected Kano doctors and health workers discharged. Details on page 8. Infected, of course, with COVID-19.
Okay, Kingsley. Let me take the lead story from the Daily Sun, and it's on same. It says governors frustrating COVID-19 fight, and this is attributed to the federal government. It comes with the rider, flays reopening of religious gathering. And of course, just below that, above that, you can find federal government declares Monday, Tuesday public holiday. Read it up on page 24. And just a bit above that, the earpiece, you can find there, curfew. Kano, Plateau, FCTA go tough on violators. And the rider there says convict 225 impound cars, truck, and buses. Details of that story is on page 27. And the picture story on the front page here speaks to a community orientation and mobilization going on, undertaken by the National Orientation Agency, NOA, somewhere in the local government area in Kano State, on safety measures to stop the spread of the COVID-19. But you can see, you can see the children there, crowded together. There's no sign of social distancing and all that. Anyway, you get to speak to that later. Now, other stories trending at the bottom of the paper. Buhari signs amended order for voluntary declaration of offshore assets. 24, that's where you can read it up. And then Eid al-Fitr, Sultan suspends congregations at prayer ground, and council directs Kwara Muslims to pray at homes. Details of those on page 24 and 27. And Kingsley read this one earlier on. S. Oruru's abductors bag 26 years jail term. Details of that on page 4. Trending story at the bottom. Chinese doctors should be held liable. And this is coming from NMA. Others insisting. Details of that you can find on page 25. Bayo, which is your take?
Let me start with the hottest news now, the expectation about Eid al-Fitr, which is likely to come up over the weekend. The Fatwa Committee has urged that Eid al-Fitr congregational prayers, usually held in the outskirts of towns and cities, should be suspended. Meanwhile, the Jamaat Nasratul Islam Fatwa Committee, under the auspices of the Sultan, has advised that Muslims should observe Eid prayers at home. This is to meet the challenges of COVID-19. The Secretary General of the Jamaat Nasratul Islam, Sheikh Khalid Aliyu, says that the JNF Fatwa Committee observed that, enjoined that Eid al-Fitr prayer should be observed at home. It could be with the family, or if you are alone, you can pray it alone. And the Fatwa Committee also explained that if you are praying at home, that aspect of the khutbah, which is the sermon, is now suspended. Meanwhile, usually the Sultan is expected to come with the announcement for all to look out for the moon, the crescent that signals the end of Ramadan and the beginning of the celebration of Eid al-Fitr. But astronomers at Majma University near Riyadh says that there's no possibility of sighting the crescent of the Ramadan Shawwal this evening. This is because they say the sun will set today at 6:39 p.m. at 293 degrees, and the moon will already have be at its set by 6:26 p.m., which means there's no way you can sight the moon. Therefore, the astronomers are saying that they will be fasting tomorrow, and Eid al-Fitr is likely to be on Sunday. From that postulation, they supported that with their own astronomical dedication. They said the sun on Saturday will set at 6:40 p.m., while the moon will have set earlier on. So the crescent will be visible by 7:23. So that is science coming to the aid of what is going on. Meanwhile, yesterday, to bring you update on COVID-19, we had 339 of our compatriots testing positive in 18 states. Lagos had 139, Kano and Oyo had 28, Edo had 25, Katsina 22, and Kaduna 18. Total so far 7,016. Among our cases, our compatriots have been discharged at 1,907. The active cases is 5,104. Unfortunately, we had 9 fatalities, bringing our total lost departed compatriots to 211. So far, the deaths are from 29 states. There are 8 states that still have not recorded any case of any death at all. 2 states have not, in fact, recorded any case of COVID-19. Meanwhile, the federal government says it's looking forward to reopening schools, but speculations in the social media that schools are opening in 2 weeks is not true. The Minister of State for Education, Chukwuemeka Nwajuiba, said that government is looking at the possibility of, with stakeholders, of a situation where school children will not be endangered if they go to school. He specifically said we want a situation whereby they can go into school safely and come back to school safely. And he said that the Ministry of Education is working with the Ministry of Science and Technology to look for a system that can disinfect the children as they go into school and come out. And that points to the issue that Kingsley read earlier on, the machine that you said is at the presidency. Maybe something like that is being contemplated for the schools.
You know, that's the issue that is now raging, in the other countries of the world. This morning, I know on one of the international media, stations, it was an issue whether or not to allow school children. And indeed, the response was that coronavirus is causing inequality in terms of in the area of education. Not, children of the poor, yes, don't have access to virtual learning, and even those who are returning to school in some of these countries are only children of the rich. The poor ones are not going back to school. So it's an issue, the school thing. I don't know.
The other concern, which the Director General of the NCDC has said that faith-based organization or other should submit guidelines for reopening to NCDC. The whole idea is for them to look at it and provide advice. And he cites an example. Transport Owners Association, those who operate long-distance buses, what we usually refer to as luxury buses, they have already provided their guideline, and NCDC is to help them.
My concern with the schools, Bayo, the seating capacity, each class, the classes are so crowded. So how do you begin to observe or comply with the social distancing? Are you going to create more classrooms, or are you going to take the students in batches? Because in the primary schools, you can have as many as 50. That's just, merely speaking. There are some classes that have over 80, pupils.
More than that. In fact, maybe they will have to follow the pattern that happened in South Africa. What they did was to open schools according to grade. Where there are a lot of crowded pupils, they delayed that. So they started with 7th grade, which had less people. And then they will now look at the atmosphere of social distancing within the classroom. That, in fact, is a big challenge. And that's why the Honorable Minister of State for Education was saying that they are meeting with stakeholders to put in place the appropriate modalities.
There's no question about it that the disruption occasioned by COVID-19 is one that will linger for a while. If we were to look at the aggregate time lost now, it's almost the equivalent of a term. Those who are in their final year were supposed to be preparing for their certificate exams have had that now delayed until further notice. So the government and indeed all stakeholders will have to come to an arrangement by which there will be some trade-off. There's no question about it. The South African model is interesting, but how long can you sustain that? It means some persons will be in school at some point and others will also not be in school. And I think that it's also important to further challenge our scientists. Challenging them also means that the governments will have to engage them, states and federal. And how do you engage them? To say, look, what are the likely issues that will arise if pupils were to return to classes as they were in the past? In other words, you're not going to start building new classrooms, let's face it, and then the teachers themselves will also have to they have to deal with the work of their pupils. Yes. In other words, you come with your notebook, you don't know what surfaces the child has touched, how frequently are you going to be sanitizing your hands or washing your hands, and so on and so forth. I don't know whether it's relevant to indicate an experimental period to see if the pupils go back to school and after, say, 2, 3, 4 weeks, there's no spike in the number of infections. It's all right. Maybe probably business as usual until, of course, a vaccine is available. But to say that, because of COVID-19, everything is paralyzed, I mean, the pupils, they need to be engaged in terms of their educational pursuits.
All right, kids, let's quickly take, let's quickly take the editorial. And basically, it's on COVID-19 and job losses. And the editorial is from the Nigerian Pilot. It's saying level of unemployment in the country is at its highest. So we call on present administration to really sit up.
Yeah, did you say the editorial from the Pilot?
Yes.
That reminds me of a story which we interest to. A pilot landed at a filling station just to buy fuel. He bought his fuel, jumped into his helicopter, and took off. One of the observers said that for a pilot to land at the filling station, he must be an experienced and dexterous pilot.
Which country is that?
It happened in Poland.
It has to be in other countries.
And guess what? The police is after him. Another said he should lose his license for doing that. I was going to ask Kingsley, do they sell aviation fuel at filling stations?
Aviation fuel is not available at filling stations. And what kind of fuel did he buy, by the way? Did he buy the fuel
in
a jerrycan, or did he buy the fuel, in his helicopter? And the important thing, an helicopter has a rotor minimum, or could have rotors, one at the top and another one at the tail. So what space was available for him to have landed, and how long was the hose that went into his tank to fill it? I mean, aviation fuel is usually dual-purpose kerosene.
Yes.
That's DPK.
All right, Bayo.
Some persons are weird anyway. So.
Bayo, thank you. We don't have much time. Do have a good weekend.
You too.
And of course, Baraka de Salah,
Yes, in advance. Thank you.
Because I won't see you till next week. All right, this is Good Morning Nigeria. We'll take a short break now. When we come back, we'll start off our conversation. Don't go away.
Also known as COVID-19, is spreading at an alarming rate all over the globe, including Nigeria. With the number of infected persons in Nigeria increasing daily, prevention is better than cure. Coronavirus has no cure. The virus spreads from one person, who affects two persons, and by the time the affected person is isolated, the two persons have affected four, and it keeps spreading. You must take preventive measures to save yourself and that of the people around you. Always wash your hands with soap and water. Put distance between yourself and others. Whenever you cough or sneeze, cover your mouth. Clean and disinfect surfaces. Stay at home if you're sick and contact the proper authorities. Together, we can cut down the spread of the coronavirus. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest TV network.
Shegun.
Alpha, shey tomorrow still dey on?
What's your tomorrow?
Community meeting now.
You know they hear Abi?
Na beggy. See, if we meet for my house, inside parlor, then go know.
This COVID-19 is not a child's play.
If you want to elect a new secretary, we fit to
Do one for WhatsApp, or for Skype, or even on Zoom. Or we just wait.
I will not negotiate.
This social distancing, it is not negotiable.
Not every infected person shows symptoms, but every infected person is contagious. Avoid large gatherings and self-isolate if you think you might have come in contact with a carrier. Your safety and the safety of others is in your hands.
This message is from the Akinfade Foundation in partnership with the National Orientation Agency with support from MacArthur Foundation.
Coronavirus is real. Steps to avoid this pandemic. Wash your hands regularly or sanitize your hands. Keep social and physical distancing. Avoid crowded places. Stay at home unless absolutely necessary. Don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth if your hands are not clean. Avoid the spread of coronavirus. Coronavirus is real.
There is a lot of fake news and report circulating, especially on social media, on the coronavirus. Do not believe or partake in the spread of these fake reports. If it is not on the official website or news from the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, disregard such report. Only together can we beat this virus. Only together can we overcome this pandemic. Follow the instructions and guidelines provided to combat this virus. Most importantly, stay at home. Self-isolate, regardless of your status. The virus doesn't move unless we move. Let us work together to better Nigeria. Together, we can do this.
This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
All right, we are watching Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Now, our conversation this morning is on COVID-19 and this year's Eid al-Fitr celebration. And to set the tone for that, let's take this background up by our correspondent, Musbah Udan Wahab.
The search for a new crescent has begun, and so too is the last-minute shopping for the end of a month-long Ramadan fast, Eid al-Fitr. But Salisu Yusuf is uncertain with preparation for any celebration.
I don't know what you go do because this COVID-19, it don't spoil everything.
Elsewhere, little Muklis Olajire, sizing his new dress, is anxiously waiting for the usual flocking to prayer ground on Salah Day. At least, he had seen a few of such in the past.
Do you like it? Yes. Daddy, are we going for Salah dinner? No, we are not going for Salah dinner. You know there will be no Eid this year, right?
Alas, it is going to be a different mode of Salah celebration this year. That their father has been pressing home to their consciousness.
When they brought their new clothes and everything, they were like, inshallah, we'll be going for it. And the moment I just mentioned the word coronavirus, oh, Daddy will not be going to any gathering.
Coronavirus is novel to this generation, but such pandemic is not new in Islam. And in the series of a new normal, with exception of some northern states whose governors have issued a contrary directive, Muslims in Nigeria, like in many other countries across the world, will have a new experience.
Everybody would pray their Salah, their 2 Rakah prayers in their homes with their family. We are beginning to teach our people. The Muslims should know that this thing that is happening to us, we are not the only one. It has happened to the Christians in their own. It has happened to the Jews. It has happened to everybody. Now we should see that this is our own turn to share from the world pandemic challenge which the entire world is facing?
Because there is coronavirus.
It is an incredible reality that Mukhlis and his older sister, Makfusa, are now very much aware of. But they can only hope for a better future soonest.
I pray that the coronavirus should go maybe like before next month.
All right, thank you for joining us wherever you're watching from. If you've just joined in, this is Good Morning Nigeria, and we are live here on the network service of the NTA. Promises to be an exciting discussion we're going to have today. Of course, I'm feeling the mood already, but let me quickly introduce our guests who are already seated to discuss COVID-19 and Eid al-Fitr celebrations. Professor Ishaq Oloyede is, of course, known as in his capacity as Registrar of JAM, but he's right here in his other capacity as Secretary General, Nigerian Supreme Council of Islamic Affairs, NSCIA. I'd like to welcome you, Professor Ishaq Oloyede.
Thank you.
Thank you. Also here with us is Dr. Mohammed Kabir Adam, who is the Imam, Abuja National Mosque. Thank you very much, Imam, for joining us.
Good morning.
All right, and we have a guest who's joining us from our Kano Network Center. He's Sheikh Mohammed bin Uthman, who is the Chief Imam of the Shahaba Mosque in Kwindila in Kano. Sheikh Mohammed, pleasure to have you with us on the program this morning.
Very much.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. I'd like to have you. We hope to be joined by another guest in the course of the conversation. This time to be from Niger State. Let's begin with Professor Oloyede. Professor Oloyede, I mean, the month-long Ramadan is coming to a close. For a true adherent, what are the emotions at this time?
Thank you very much. I believe that all Muslims will be having a mixed feeling. Muslims who are knowledgeable will have mixed feelings. They will be missing the Ramadan, the month of blessing. And they want to seize the opportunity of every moment of it that remains to seek closeness to God. I think that is one aspect. The other aspect is the fact that many people are looking forward to the festivities. Some are even more, they see it as returning to what they would call normal life. And this is why it now becomes a mixed feeling in the sense that people are looking for, the Ramadan will end. But at the same time, that people will miss is also there. Then it also has some other implications. This is the time that people are thinking of how to give their zakat al-fitr, which they know must be given before they go on Eid. And of course, to the generality of the people, Ramadan is likely to end on Saturday, and they go for Eid on Sunday. But Muslims know that another fast starts on Monday or thereabout, where they still have to fast for the next 6 days. And because of this, you have a feeling to the general, the month Ramadan has finished, fasting has finished. But to Muslims who know what they are doing, they know that after Ramadan there is still a fast that they will be engaged in. And it's also a time for people to sit down and evaluate what they have been, particularly spiritual closeness to God. If you have been committing 10, 20 habitual sinner, 10, 20, you may not be able to drop all the sins. At least drop some. If you are a thief, you are an adulterer, you are this and that, if you cannot drop everything at a time, Ramadan has come. Make up your mind that you are going to reduce the number of sins that you are committing. If you are stealing and you also take alcohol, you also commit adultery. If it is stealing, you can drop. That is even better for us because the others, you can account to your God. But the one that affects all of us,
Professor
drop
Lloyd,
that one.
Sorry to interject. Let me just pause you for a while. I'll just stop our conversation here in the studio to adjust your microphones. We understand the quality of your sound is not too good. So we'll just pause your conversation, but go to Kano where also Sheikh Mohammed bin Othman would also respond to the same question that Kingsley put across to Professor Ishaq Oloyede. What is the mood of our Muslim brothers and sisters at this hour?
Yeah, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala nabiyyina Muhammadin wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Really, the Holy Quran in chapter number 2, verse 183. Clearly Allah said, O you who believe, fasting has been made compulsory upon you, just as it was made upon those who came before you, so that you may learn. That is the point here. You may learn God consciousness. So the main rationale and hikmah or wisdom is to inculcate in the Muslim ummah and community how to relate to Allah, obeying Him and keeping away from things forbidden by Him. So the mood is that we have been transformed, or we should have been transformed. Okay, in these 30 days experience during the Ramadanic sessions, teachings, reading the Quran constantly, attending scenes of tafsir and Quranic exegesis, attending prayers, though during this lockdown things have changed. So the mood is that of showing gratitude to Allah the Almighty for a life well spent. But with a kind of a mix in the process, things are not going the way they should be going. Because of this, let me call it nasty reality of this ravaging monster. We've been asking Allah the Almighty to bring a quick end to this. And وَمَا ذَلِكَ عَلَى اللَّهِ بِأَزِيزٍ. So simply put it, our mood is mood of thankfulness to Allah the Almighty for being created human beings, being Muslims, and being given opportunity to witness this month. Don't forget, there are a lot of people right now in the grave. They have just passed away. So we thank Allah for the life being elongated to witness this one. We hope to see more and more of these nice opportunities, but at the same time, we feel sad. We are saddened because of this reality. So that is why we keep on praying passionately that Allah, the Almighty, our Creator, our Cherisher, our Sustainer, to bring an end to this reality. And that is not difficult for Allah, the Almighty.
By today, Friday, or even tomorrow, Saturday, the Eid will hold. They'll be marking the Eid. That's, of course, consequent upon the sighting of the Shawwal moon. But we hear that the Shawwal moon may not be sighted today. What is science telling us?
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for everything. Islam was built on knowledge. Science is part and parcel of Islam. That is why Allah in His infinite mercy made mention in the Holy Quran after He said, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. In this verse, which is the first revelation in the Holy Quran, Allah made mention, Allama al-insana ma lam ya'lam. Meaning, Allah taught human beings something that he don't know. You know something today, but you don't know what will happen tomorrow. So the people of tomorrow, Allah will teach them how tomorrow will be. So science is part and parcel of Islam. So in Islam, we use science as the way it were, because Allah is the one who created the entire universe. So He said we have to think and accept His presence through all these means, which means, we have 12 months in a year. And these months were marked with days. But as far as moon is concerned, the moon has to appear. Because in Islam, Allah says, فَمَنْ شَهِدَ مِنْكُمُ الشَّهَرَ, whoever witness the appearance of the month. So definitely, وَلَا اللَّيْلُ سَابِقُ النَّهَارِ. Allah made mention that yes, night will not go above the day, then vice versa. So definitely, scientists' gadget should be applied to know so many things. That is why we are using mathematics to arrive in distributing inheritance. We are using mathematics to pray. That is why our prayers is all based on mathematics. 4 raka'ah, 5 raka'ah, 11, 2, 1, all were based on mathematics. Of course, mathematics is the mother of science.
Why is it difficult to cite the moon? Because we hear that the reports indicate that it will be difficult to cite the crescent moon today, which of course has pushed the Eid, forward to Saturday or Sunday. I don't know. Maybe, Prof, you want to clarify?
Thank you very much. 9th day of Ramadan. It is the first day that Muslims are expected to look for the moon. It is the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that on the 29th people will be in search of the moon. But in the past, when there was no scientific discovery, you were just looking. You didn't know what was behind the cloud. But now science has made it possible for you to know what is behind the cloud. The moon is clear that the month will, the birth of the month will take place, the conjunction will occur this evening. But at the time it will be occurring, the moon will have set before the sunset. So it is not practicable for anybody to see the moon, the crescent, because it is after the moon has set that the sun will set. And the life of the crescent itself will just be about 4 or 5 minutes in many parts of Nigeria. The Nigerian Space Research Development Agency has also advised us specifically on the time that this will happen. But in conjunction, in obedience to the sunnah of the Prophet, His Eminence the Sultan has directed, and we have issued the notice that people should be on the lookout. But the possibility, we also know that given the reality, it's not possible for anybody to cite it. But this is because it occurs like this year. If we say don't look out for it, people will forget that on the 29th they need to go and look for it. But we already know that it's not practicable. So what is practicable is that by tomorrow that we'll be completing the 38th, and at that time it will be possible, because the moon will have sighted for more than 24 hours, even with naked eye, many places will be able to sight the moon, because the moon, you cannot remove the fact that what we know, we already know. Well, we can also not remove the fact that science alone will not determine what we will do, because science itself can be unstable. What they will tell you, when we were going to school in those days, those were people who went to school, they were giving birth every 6 months, and they say lactogen, if you go to school, you will be giving birth every 6 months and nothing will happen. Later, science came to tell them that it's dangerous, so you better return to what the Quran has said, that you give your child proper weaning for 2 years, and that they are returning to science. So it's not just on science. We can't just not say, okay, why don't we just rely on what the science is saying? We will be using the two. Where science is right, we will follow science. Where science is proven and Islam tells us that This is not the way. We won't because it is science, because science itself is work in progress. And that is why a combination of the two, it is clear to us that 29th of Ramadan will be on the lookout. But it's also clear to us that given the situation, and because many people say, oh, why relying on science? I always tell people, if you take a pen now and you write 7, and I look at it, I cannot see the 7. It doesn't mean that the 7 is not there. But if I put on my glasses, I can see the 7. So, yes, you cannot do away. Almost all of us using our spectacles. So, the reality of the fact is that there are certain things that science will help us to really get. The reality is that we'll be on the lookout for the moon, and if anybody should cite it, we will advise His Eminence. But in science, we also know that if you take your appropriate gadgets, I was with some scientists yesterday in one of the government agencies, and they were able to get where the thing is, the time that it will arrive, and it's so accurate. So everybody knows that.
So
yes.
There'll be universal celebration of all
it's
over.
likely. When you say universal, I can't say universal because in places it depends on knowledge. Somebody might say, look, even tomorrow, Sunday, unless I see it
Saturday.
with my eyes,
Tomorrow is Saturday.
or on Saturday, unless I see it with my eyes, and therefore if I do not see it on Saturday, it might be Sunday. So what we are saying is that when you put all this together, the likelihood of Eid al-Fitr being on Sunday is higher than
Saturday.
any other day.
All right,
Thank you.
Professor Loyode, thank you very much. Earlier, we indicated that we might have another guest join us. This time, he's via Zoom from Lambata in neighboring Niger State. Simwal Usman Jibril is a member of the National Moon Sighting Committee of the Council for Islamic Affairs, the Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs. Of course, he has broad-ranging experience as well in Abu Dhabi, that's the United Arab Emirates, as well as in Kaduna. Simwal Usman Jibril, while we are still on the subject of moon sighting, you may wish, of course, to lend your voice to what has already been explained by Dr. Dam and then Professor Loyode. But tell us, what is the significance of the moon in the affairs of Muslims, and more particularly in the course of Ramadan?
Bismillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah wa ba'd. Good morning, viewers. Sorry for joining late because I'm traveling, I'm on the road. The moon is a very important issue in the lives of Muslims because, like we know, we have the 5 pillars of Islam, and the moon is directly linked to 4 of the pillars, namely Hajj. We use the moon to determine when it's time for Hajj, and Zakat, that is giving out charity. You use the moon to determine that the year is 1 year old and the zakat is due on whatever it's due. And Ramadan, of course, this month that we're in, we use the moon to determine when Ramadan begins. Because of, that's the basic weight that we use to determine the beginning of Ramadan, and that's what we use to end it. So the moon is a very, very important issue in the lives of Muslims.
All right. Thank you very much, Simwal. We'll come back to you later on in the course of the conversation. Let's also go to Sheikh bin Uthman in Kano. Sheikh bin Uthman, give us your own opinion. In the past, particularly in Nigeria, we used to have, if you like, contradictory sighting of the moon, and therefore different days of celebration. And persons who were not insiders often wondered why that was so. But things appear to have been streamlined now in recent years. Is that likely to continue under the current circumstance? Because listening to Professor Loyode here and Doctor, there would appear to be, all right, so there's the science of moon sighting, and there is also the human factor in the event of a conflict which prevails.
Yes. Moon sighting in Nigeria for quite a long time has been characterized by, let me say, controversies. One part of the country starting fasting and breaking same, contrary to what is happening in other parts of the country. But thank Allah, with the coming of His Eminence, things have changed for the better, especially trying to just be one with global community in sightening, in beginning and stopping the fasting. You see, there is a hadith of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that categorically say, "Sumu li ru'yatihi wa aftiru li ru'yatihi, fa in ghumma alaykum fa akmilu iddata sha'ban 30." Do fast, we are being commanded. Do fast for the fact that you have sighted the new crescent. Stop fasting if the new crescent of Shawwal is sighted. Now this takes precedence above any other alternative, scientifically, astronomically, you name it. So first and foremost, sighting is most important. But we have to combine the two, as Professor Isaac says. Because in the process, we need science, any other alternative. Because Allah says, "Allama al-insana ma lam ya'lam." Allah causes man to know that which he knew not previously. So you cannot be dogmatic and say, "No, I am going to just rely on moon sighting." No, we use the other alternatives. So there is likelihood of, doing it tomorrow and Saturday. And there is likelihood also, if it is not sighted, then we have to complete the number to be 30, which subsequently and consequently we are going to do Eid al-Fitr on Sunday. So that is the system. This is the ethic given to us by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There are some people who just vehemently deny the reality of resorting to scientific alternative. To me, humbly, that is incorrect. We combine the two. We have a rule in the science of hadith which says, "Al-jam'u awla min at-tarjih." To combine two things, to activate them is better than taking one, leaving one. Unless if it becomes impossible, then you take one and leave the other one. So I'm saying technically, we use our naked eyes to see. Because the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, during his time, there wasn't anything like a microscopic glass or whatever. They used their naked eye to see. Some people are, making a mistake because somebody came some years back saying, "I will not, for example, start fasting until I have seen the moon with my naked eye." His reason is an ayah, فَمَنْ شَهِدَ مِنْكُمُ الشَّهْرَ. You see, the verb shahida, it's from shahida yashhadu. There is no alif between shinun and ha. It's not shahada. The ayah says فَمَنْ shahida, who is present, not فَمَنْ shahada, who saw it with naked eye. So that is a mistake by that brother who talked some years back. Shahida is if you are present, not necessarily seeing it, because the Prophet acted on the seeing, on sighting of somebody, and he fasted. He didn't see it, he himself, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I am saying in a nutshell, moon sighting is important thing to be attached, the necessary premium, which is what Supreme Council is definitely doing now with the subcommittee on moon sighting. They are doing good job, and please keep it up, because that has helped a lot in making the Muslim Ummah to come together, in streamlining the system, because it's better to be united on everything. Allah says, "Inna hadhihi ummatukum ummatan wahida wa ana rabbukum fa'budun," in chapter number 21 of the Quran. This is here one community, one Muslim Ummah, impregnable, that shouldn't be divided. So we want to be united on everything, starting fasting together, stopping same together simultaneously within the Nigerian state, even continentally and even globally. And that is not impracticable. It is possible. There are chances of making it a reality. Asking Allah, the Almighty, to guide our leaders in continuing to maintain this unity, that is going to be very, very important. May Allah make it easy.
It is Sheikh Mohammed bin Osman. Thank you very much. Now that we seem to have clarified, the correlation between the moon and Eid al-Fitr, I think my next question, I want to direct it to the Imam here with us in the studio. What basically is the fundamental purpose of Eid? Being a smaller celebration, is it really compulsory? That's one. And will not observing it, in the usual congregational Tarawih format negates that purpose?
First of all, we fast for the period of 29th or 30 days. This is a devotion. So, at the end of it, definitely, we need to show our gratitude for having spared our lives by our Creator to go through this practice or these activities. So at the end of it, we show our gratitude to Allah. That is the purpose of going for an Eid. So an Eid festivity is just to come out together. You can see the beautiful things of it. You see the male, the female, the aged, the young, everybody. Everybody is going out to celebrate Eid. Eid means celebration. That's the meaning. So it is an avenue where people come together to show their gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who will give them the opportunity to fast this blessed month of Ramadan.
Sorry, Kingsley.
Thanks a lot. I know that the issue of the Eid is on the table, but I want to back up a bit. I want to bring in Professor Loyede here. 2020 has been a unique year for humanity. What, therefore, in your opinion, has also been unique about this year's Ramadan, which is coming to a close, and then we celebrated with the Eid?
Thank you very much. It's unique. It's largely negative in our perception in terms of hardship that people will face, restriction and so on. But it is clear, Innama Ali Usri Yusra. With every difficulty, not after every difficulty, within every difficulty there is ease. There are lessons for us to learn. And I believe that not only Muslims, I mean humanity generally will have to learn after this, that this COVID had brought some lessons, some reality that we will not be able to run away from even subsequently. But for the Eid, His Eminence, the Nigerian Supreme Council, and when you say my own opinion, I want to say that the opinion I'm expressing is not even mine, but a collective opinion of all the Muslim Ummah. We met under the leadership of His Eminence, and we decided that, look, Eid itself is not mandatory, it's not compulsory. There are many other things that are more compulsory for us to do. For instance, to give Zakatul Fitri is more compulsory than the Eid itself. That people who are suffering around you, to make sure that you ease the tension for them is even more mandatory on us than the Eid. But given the circumstances, and given that the Quran had told us not to put ourselves in our life in danger. And one of the principal sources of what we call Maqasidu Sharia, that is the purpose of Sharia in Islam, is to protect life. And we do not need to endanger our life. And that is why collectively the decision taken was that let everybody observe his or her Eid prayer in his house, with his household, where there is lockdown. I always tell people when they say lockdown is better than lockup, because when the lockdown is voluntary. So we should thank God that we are locking down, not that we are locked up somewhere. So I think it is important for us where the authorities, because we are aware that there are states where the authorities, in their opinion, whether rightly or wrongly, believe that people should go to the mosque, even then, the position of the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs is that don't even go to the Eid, even when the state allows it. Observe your Eid in your area mosque, even when it is allowed. Where it is not allowed, it's totally outlawed. And many people do not realize that the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs is talking for the whole nation. Some people will pick one state and will say, in so state, they went for Juma. Why did the Supreme Council not stop them? The Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs is deciding for the whole nation and therefore cannot afford to give only instruction that will be applicable in one section. And that is why the instruction has two legs. Where it is allowed, don't go to the Eid ground. Do it in your community mosque so as to limit the number of crowd that will gather at a particular place. Where it is not allowed, where the authorities believe that it is not proper for us to congregate, observe your prayers in your house, with your household. And we have also given the instruction, we have called our attention to the position of the Sharia, the position of learned scholars on this matter, that you will observe the 2 rakah. On the first rakah, you have 7 takbir. On the second rakah, you have 5 takbir. And I've told you, I have mentioned it earlier on, that it appears that in every difficulty there is many people just go to it. They don't know how many rakah, how many takbirat they do at the place. But everybody has become an imam now. These are giving us the opportunity of telling everybody that because you just go to it, Imam say Allah Akbar, you say Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. You don't know how many the Imam. Imam is the one counting. But this has given you the opportunity of knowing that it is 7 for the first rakah and it is 5 for the second rakah. And you don't need to give sermon. The sermon that you give is because of the congregation. What is important is that God says, Wali tukabirullah. Say Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. That is what you should be doing and chanting, and you will have the full reward of observing Eid al-Fitr. So everybody has the opportunity now of knowledge about Islam. You can't just continue to be, because my father was born a Muslim and my father was Imam. You are now becoming Imam for over your wife, over your children. And it also teaches us that those who rely on their clerics, that as if they were the people who are the younger brothers of God or something like that. It's not so. Just as you will be alone in your grave, try and have direct contact with your God. Don't rely on any human being as somebody who will take you to God, because it's because we are not close to God that we look for people that will help us appeal to God. You repair your relationship with God so that you can talk to God directly. Okay. So I think this is part of the lessons we learn from
Prof,
this
thank you.
Lockdown.
You've actually touched on quite a number of very important issues. And as we continue the conversations, we'll take on some of those issues, practices, like you've said, you can have the prayers in your home. Yes. Of course, we know that there are rules, there are formats, there are positions that you will have to, undertake. But let me take my question to Kano, where the Sheikh, of course, is joining us via Skype. Sheikh, I just like for you to explain these writings, of some of the learned Islamic scholars. I think I took it from the Hadith. And I'm quoting now. It says, and this is within the context of COVID-19 and fundamentals of Islam, intentions supersede actions, and actions are judged on the basis of intentions. Please, could you explain this to us within the context of the fundamentals of Islam and a COVID-19 pandemic situation?
I know naturally you will come to me. You see, in the light of the citation you gave, let me start by saying first, in Islam, there are what they call 5 principles of Islamic legislation. They say, ضرر يزال وعادة قد أحكمت وكذا المشقة تجلب التيسير والشك لا ترفع, to the end of it. They are saying, if there is any harm, it has to be removed. So if doing something has the potentialities of inflicting harm on you, leave it. Forget about the benefit you get. So this is something written in our books of Islamic law. Number one. Number two, the issue of not praying in Jumu'at prayers and Eid took place for quite a long time. In the year 930 or thereabout, or 913, even Hajj was stopped because of realities then. Hajj had to be suspended. Recently, 40 years back, 1979, during the Juhayman madness attacking Kaaba, you know what happened. The Kaaba was completely locked down for almost 2 weeks consecutively. So we are saying, if there is darar, there is a harm. Yeah, Sharia is flexible, but within the confine of Sharia itself. Not anybody using his whims and caprices. Okay, now back to your question. Intention or actions are judged according to one's intent. This is a prophetic statement. He says, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, reported by Bukhari and Muslim, agreed upon, muttafaqun alayh. Meaning, if I have the intention of going to Eid prayer or Jum'ah, but circumstances are not that pleasant as to allow me for that, my intention is sufficient to be reward fetching for me, definitely. But in a situation like in my home state, Kano, where the government looks at people's concern, they say, okay, you can go and do it. People are in need of that, but there are rules and regulations that people are going to observe. So you can combine the two. Because people are saying, why do you open markets? Look at the congregation in marketplaces. Come to Kano, Savongari, you see nothing completely like social distancing. People are asking, are you telling me COVID-19 is only in the masjid, in the mosque, the house of Allah? It's not in the marketplace? You cannot deny this. People have to ask. You have to answer them. If I can allow people to come out twice a day, a week, or 3 days a week, commonsensically permit me, people will ask you, and I'm repeating, are we saying this disease is only there in the house of Allah, where people should be asking Allah to bring a remedy to it? This is su'udhan, according to some people's view. So in Kano, a lot of scholars found it necessary. I may not agree with them, but they impress upon the government, and the government listen to the people. I am an imam, and I have to follow, but definitely trying to maintain the rules and regulations. Wash your hand properly with sanitizer. Use your mask, and I'm going to use it on my pulpit tomorrow. I will put it. And even my hands, thanks. Okay. And I will command people. The law enforcement agent will help us in making sure rules and regulations are there. So, if the government allows it, it is because of the pressure of the people. And it's in reason to people's question. I am still repeating. People are still seeing. Allowing people to go to the markets, they buy and sell and interact and socialize virtually without nothing like social distancing. They are asking this question. Are you telling me the disease is only in the masjid, the house of Allah, not in the market, not in the hospitals, not in other places? So, the intention is there. If you intend to achieve something good, you couldn't get it, Allah rewards you. In a hadith, whoever intends to do something good, he couldn't do it, he has one reward recorded for him. For example, I want to fast a day as a supererogative fasting, but I cannot at the end of the day. Allah records for me a full reward. That is the beauty of Islam. Okay? So we are with this idea because it is a scholastic view based on sound knowledge and learning. But the reality in Kano and other states, the people are saying it is in the masjid. We are going to ask Allah the Almighty, after maintaining all the rules and regulations, and pray to Allah. Don't forget, in the hadith of Abu Dawud, the Prophet taught us to pray like this. He used to say, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-barasi wal-jununi wal-judhami wa min sayyi al-asqam. Oh Allah, I seek your protection and refuge from al-barasi, leprosy, wal-jununi, and madness, mental retardation, wal-judhami, and elephantiasis, wa min and negative diseases, COVID-19 inclusive. So people are asking, are we denying Allah the chance of going to Sana? Ask him, even if we are going to maintain the lockdown system, rules and regulations, why wouldn't you combine the two? I think this informed the decision of Kano government, and it's realistic. People are definitely going to maintain the order. If somebody fails, we send him packing. We ask Allah the Almighty to bring an end to this nasty situation. And وَمَا ذَلِكَ عَلَى اللَّهِ بِعَزِيزٍ فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْأُسْرِ يُسْرًا إِنَّ مَعَ الْأُسْرِ يُسْرًا. Any difficulty is going to be characterized by an easiness coming after it. Wallahu ala kulli shay'in qadir wa bil ijabati jadir.
Okay, well, Sheikh Mohammed bin Uthman, thank you very much for your position. I am tempted to still remain with you because you joined us from Kano, and Kano has been a place of interest for us on Good Morning Nigeria, and indeed for the nation. Much earlier, we had taken on very important dignitaries from Kano at a time when the numbers in terms of COVID-19 infections were still very minimal, and there seemed to have been some denial in the first instance until, of course, we started hearing about unexplained deaths, and then the federal government through the PTF, that's the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, then sent in, if you like, a special squad to assist the state government. The explanation that you have given, deriving from the very pertinent questions that people are asking, the explanation is noted. Now, if you can't get COVID-19 from the marketplace and there's no indication that you cannot get it from the marketplace, why then would it be in a place of worship that you will get it? Now, if it's not a place of worship, you might as well go to your school. And then so that if you can't get it in the marketplace, why don't you go to school? If you can't get it in the marketplace, why don't you also go to your place of work? Why don't you be on the street? So is this not likely, to exacerbate the issue of misunderstanding and cynicism or skepticism surrounding whether or not COVID-19 is real?
Yeah, skepticism or cynicism to me should be counted out, because disease is God created. Allah is the creator of everything. Okay, Allah says, Allahu khaliqu kulli shay. Allah is the fabricator, if you like it, the creator of everything. Disease is included. We don't deny the reality of disease. Islam teaches us even healthcare is two-way traffic, preventively and curatively. Try to take preventive measure to avert, the attack of a disease. That is preventive care. So also curative. They are saying, al-wiqayatu khayrun min al-ilaj. So if anybody denies the reality, to me, this is senselessness. Permit me. How do you deny that it is there? People who are saying, no, it is a lie. It's not a lie. It is there. But if it is there, what do I do? Let me cooperate with the authorities that be. The medical practitioners are there. But people are also saying, why is it that the scholars who deserve the name are counted out? Why haven't we heard people saying, please, the scholars, ask people to beg Allah, to ask him? Why is it sidelined, so to speak? Why is this? Is it only with the medical practitioners? I think all hands should be on deck. The scholars, the alfaz, the malams, the sheikhs, the asatidha should tell Allah the Almighty, because Allah listens to our prayers. In Quran chapter number 40, verse number 60, Allah says, وَقَالَ رَبُّكُمُ ادْعُونِي أَسْتَجِبْ لَكُمْ. Your Lord says, ask me and I'm going to answer you. We don't deny. I'm not skeptical I am not cynic concerning the possibility of Allah's answering my request. So cynicism, skepticism, doubting, put aside. It's not an informed idea. People with maybe, astaghfirullah, low IQ are those denying this reality. It's there. Don't tell me one country fabricated it. Forget about that one. The reality, it is there ravaging the society, killing people all over the world. So it will be sheer madness this is not there. So we know it is there, but what we are saying, like I told you earlier, the kind of scholars that advise the government have their reason. Some of them I told you have heard it. Okay? So I want to maintain an enlightened and informed decision that will fetch for me the endorsement of my creator, my nourisher, my sustainer. Wallahu a'lam wa bihi tawfiq.
Thank you, gentlemen. Let's just pause for a while, take a short break. When we come back, we'll continue with this interesting discussion. And of course, we will be joining our Usman Jibril, who is with us via Zoom. But again, as I said, that will be after these commercials. Don't go away.
Coronavirus is dangerous. It can kill. When you see this sign, high fever, cough, shortness of breath, drowsiness, pneumonia, don't panic, don't hide. Don't embark in self-medication. Promptly visit the nearest medical facility. Report all cases to the nearest hospital. Prevention is key. Avoid contact with infected persons. Avoid crowded areas as much as possible. Wash your hands regularly. Use hand sanitizers. Your life is precious. Stay alive. Live long. Live right. This message is sponsored by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture and the Nigerian Film Corporation. Nigerian Film Corporation, powering possibility.
As a strong immune system increases the chances of victims surviving COVID-19, a corruption-free society creates opportunities for citizens to thrive and prosper. Build your immunity. Stop corruption now. Report all acts of corruption to ICPC on this toll-free number 0800 2255 4272. This message is brought to you by ICPC and NTA.
The number of the COVID-19 cases in Nigeria is increasing daily, with many more tests ongoing. The battle of testing, isolating, treating, and attending to the affected persons rests heavily on the shoulders of our health workers, constantly putting their lives on the line and at risk to contain this virus, save and protect the lives of millions of Nigerians. To these health workers, we at the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, on behalf of millions of Nigerians, say a big thank you for all that you have done and are doing. To the security agencies enforcing the lockdown and every other frontliner, we say thank you for putting your lives on the line to save ours. There is no amount of words that can quantify our gratitude. Thank you. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
All right, welcome back. And let me quickly take my question to Mohammed Kabir, that's Imam Adam here. You listened to the Sheikh Mohammed Ibn Uthman from Kano talk about, of course, the logical reasoning behind the relaxation of the restrictions in Kano. Quite logical, if you ask me. But with the experience of what is happening, the increasing number of positive cases in the country generally, especially in the states in the northern part of the country, with increasing number of deaths, how easy is it to congregate during this Eid? And is it easy to practice those precautionary measures?
Well, thank you very much. First of all, we had meeting with medical personnel concerning this issue here in FCT to know whether if it is feasible to congregate or not. They said in reality, medical advice is not. Even those who allowed it in other states, they said it is very, very wrong. That's what they say. We asked them what is the difference between congregation in market and that of places of worship. They say yes, it is two entirely different. In the market, everybody yes agreed there is mixture of people in the market, but everybody is alert. You can see, even though yes, but everybody is on high alert of who is walking beside him. But in the mosque, it's not like that. There are things that are happening in the mosque on compassionate ground. What one medical doctor made mention, for example, an imam in the mosque leading the prayer, somebody walk in a terrible situation, he need attention. Of course, not only the imam, everybody in the mosque will now go to his aid on compassionate ground. Unlucky, maybe he is a contact. He contacted the virus. So the imam and all the people in the mosque will contact the virus without them knowing, and they will now take it back to their family. So you can see the virus is now continue spreading. The virus was not there in the mosque. Everybody knows that. But the people who entered the mosque, one of them will enter with it. If one person with virus enter the mosque of, let's say, 500, how many will contact the virus? Very many. Prophet of Islam, in one of the hadith, and the hadith was in the book of Sharia, where he said, in a situation of witnessing calamity like this, especially something that is, the hadith used the word, something that is bakma, something that you cannot hear. Amya, something that you cannot see. You better stop where you are. Other hadith says, if you walk out, it will grab you and you are on your own. So Islam is very clear. Going to the mosque is a command from Allah. And it is the same Allah who says, if there is danger, we should not expose ourselves to that danger. We have to protect ourselves. In fact, in a situation of taking a lawful food, now you don't have the lawful food to eat. If you didn't eat the unlawful one, you will die of hunger. What Quran says in Quran chapter 2 says, you eat the unlawful one just to survive. Just to survive. So it is the medical advice. Quran says, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask those who know if you do not know. In this aspect of COVID-19, medical personnel, they are the knowledgeable ones. And Islam ordered us to ask them to tell us. And this is their stand.
All right, Dr. Mohammed Kabir, thank you very much. Professor Loyo, let's come back to you. You had given the explanation and also indeed stated the position of the Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs and the conditions under which the directives, should be followed. Let me ask this question against the background of what Dr. Mohammed also just explained. To state before asking the question that part of what we saw in terms of the exponential rise in the numbers of infections in South Korea was from a religious gathering. It was in South Korea, many months ago. It was from a religious gathering, and suddenly, it went through the entire population. We have also seen during the course of managing the pandemic what is now sometimes referred to as virtual worship. People tune in to television stations where worship is ongoing. We saw, for instance, during the Easter celebration, the Basilica, was bereft of any human being, and the Pope, of course, celebrated the Mass of Easter virtually, and then adherents also tuned in, and then the other denominations also adopted theirs. Is there an Islamic equivalent of virtual worship? Is that also available during this Eid celebration? And allied to that, is the spiritual voltage going to be any less if you don't worship in the congregation in the mosque?
Okay, thank you very much. Let me say that the leaders, particularly the political leaders, I think I sympathize with many of them because the burden they are carrying, the pressure that people will put on them, but they are going to be held responsible for their decisions. Unfortunately, they will be held responsible. Those who advise them, they will just be, but it is important that political leaders will know, yes, it's not easy, but once they are there, they have to take decisions. And at times, some of these decisions might not be pleasant momentarily. I think we need, in fighting this COVID, my own opinion is that those of us who are entrusted by God to be the one in authority, we need to be sure that any decision we are taking, because the same people who will give us this advice are those people who are going to blame us in case it does not go their own way. And unfortunately, God has entrusted you with this power. Make sure that between you and God, you do only those things that you'll be able to account to God to say, God, I may be wrong, but these are my convictions. Having said that, in Islam, there is a difference between worship and prayer, technically speaking. There are certain things in Islam that sleeping, lying down, you can call, you can worship, you can listen to sermon. All these are available everywhere. We go, most of the things you do are sermon, giving sermon to people, and all those ones can be done virtually. But when it comes to canonical worship, and that's what makes it very, that Muslims should be very cautious. Because when we congregate, we go to a place to perform ablution. It will be difficult for you to, people who go to the market, they don't go and perform ablution before they go. You go into a room where people, almost everybody is rushing to the place to perform ablution. That could be a dangerous place that for somebody who has it, who comes in, the same tap that is using, the same tap that others are using. And that's why even those who want to do it, we want to ask them, let them come with their bottles rather than going to the ablution place. Secondly, when you go into the mosque, you are in a row. Unless you make special arrangement for distancing, the normal thing is you stand leg to leg and shoulder to shoulder. In the market, unless something is wrong with somebody, will not come and be standing shoulder with shoulder or touching something must be abnormal. In any case, because others are doing something, if the thing is not in our interest, what I got from my friend in Kano was that they feel that they could manage it. May God make it easy for them to manage it. I have no doubt that if God supports them, they could manage it. But the danger is not to say in the market, because that many things happen in the mosque that do not happen in the market, because you have to sit down together. When you say Salamu Alaikum here, how are you going to, the man by your side, Salamu Alaikum, you want to sneeze. Will you sneeze and do like this when you are praying? Or you are coughing, or you tell the man who is coughing, go out because you are coughing. There are so many things that we need to do. But I respect the view, because they are scholars and they must have their reasons. That is why we are very...
But does that not amount to flouting the directive of NCIA?
No, it's not. Because the instruction is clear. Where government allows it, do not go for Eid prayer on the Eid ground. Do it in your community mosque. That's what we said. And if government does not allow it, do it in your home. So we are conscious, by the time we are taking the decision, we were conscious that some of the states, because some people, you might see a Muslim leader now in a mosque observing, say, look at these people, they are hypocrites. No, they are doing the right thing, because if, for instance, the FCT minister says, yes, you are free to go to your worship, what reason would I have to tell my wife we are not going to eat? I will have, because the leader, somebody that God will hold responsible for it, because if it is good, God will reward him, that he doesn't allow us to kill ourselves ignorantly. But if he misdirects us and he asks us to go out and we meet what is, God will also hold him responsible. If the minister of the FCT asks me to go, allow me to go to Juma service, I have no reason not to go. But where it is not allowed, that's why we said where the government says it is not in your interest to go, and it has been so directed, you should stay in your house and conduct it. Now, getting the question, this online preaching is going on. In fact, that's one of the advantages I've seen. If my other life as a JAMB registrar, I was pleasantly surprised that we are doing more work, better work, more efficient delivery of service during COVID than that. I started asking people, why are you coming to the office to do? Because the job is going on at home and better. So I believe that even the Muslim communities, they have seen so many values that they are delivering online now. And I think that's part of the positive aspect. But when it comes to canonical worship, that is the salat, we stand up, we prostrate and so on to God, that you can only do it congregationally or individually when congregation is not possible. Okay. So it's not something that you now say the chief imam is observing his prayer on the television, I will follow him. You can't do that. But you can do all other things together. But all that canonical worship, that should be done individually. And when we say individually, Islam is a very simple religion. Jama'ah starts with two. Jama'ah, when you say Jama'ah, well, God says you will have double reward, triple reward if you pray in congregation. Congregation in Islam starts with two. You and your wife, you are already a Jama'ah. Yeah. So even if you are not blessed with children, there is you become the imam. And if you are two sisters at home, one of you will lead the other, standing side by side.
I was going to ask you that for those that will be, having their prayers individually at home and all that, and where you don't have a male. In a household where you don't have a male,
the female, they will just be on the same.
Who is the adhan? Who does the
who is the muaddin?
Yes, muaddin.
The muaddin, in the case of it, there is no muaddin. No muaddin normally, even if you go to Eid, because no call is made. But in terms of leading, one of them, the most learned among them, among the women, will lead. It's just that nobody will stand as imam. They will be on the same row, and one of them in the middle will lead the prayer, and all of them will join. So Islam is a realistic religion. Islam is not against women that say that's why woman cannot lead. If a woman, for instance, if you made a woman an imam, by nature there will be problem, because when the woman is not fit for prayer, they will say, Arale, it has started this thing now. So you'll be exposing the woman to be her privacy. She had to explain why she's not leading the prayer. Not that the woman is not good, but when God creates man and creates woman, he knows what is good for the man and he knows what is good for the woman. And the man who will always be there. That's why it's but when you now have a congregation of women, a woman can lead the other women.
Okay, let's pause you for a while. Take our tweets, and of course, we'll now move to the final lap of.
But I need to also say that I was smiling when you were citing an hadith. You have become an imam, a mama. Because the way you are citing the hadith, we can call you an Islamic scholar.
Well, we're all fasting. We're all fasting.
Yes.
Together. All right, Kingsley, can we?
All right, so we have a number of tweets that have come in from our viewers. Adamo Estefanos. COVID-19 is real. Let's take responsibility by adhering to the preventive measures and let's stop the virus in its tracks.
And Chris Simeon, as you celebrate this year's Eid al-Fitr, strictly adhere to all COVID-19 protocols. Likewise, pray for God's intervention and speedily heal our land.
Now, Dele Jack Solomon says, Happy Salah to our Muslim faithful in Nigeria and all over the world. This time around, of course, celebration will differ from what it used to be. It will be a kind of digital Eid al-Fitr, and people should use this to wish each other happy Eid on phone calls and video calls.
Yakubu Abdullahi, COVID-19 is not a joke. The compulsory Friday prayers is suspended. Talk less of Eid prayer. So please, all Muslims should stay home, celebrate Eid al-Fitr with friends, family, and other loved ones.
Aliu Bala Muri says we should celebrate Eid in our homes to control the spread of COVID-19.
All right, and Festus Akimboyewa says, although Eid is marked with communal prayers and mosques, visits to friends and family, just as Christians in Nigeria celebrate Easter at home under lockdown, Muslim brothers and sisters should be encouraged to celebrate Eid at home under lockdown to protect themselves and families from COVID-19. Governors easing restrictions on religious gatherings at this time either don't believe COVID-19 is real or playing politics. We will lose the battle against COVID-19 if there is no concerted and sacrifice on the part of state governments, FG and all Nigerians. The word is enough for the wise.
Now, Innocent Yawa James tweets, it says, you don't expect social distancing during Eid prayers. How does one put in place measures to control congregation? Washing of hands and wearing of face mask can help, but only a little.
All right, Mike Anyanko, congratulations to all Nigerian Muslims on Eid celebrations. This year's on with COVID-19 pandemic shows that God is supreme. We must appreciate the sovereignty of Almighty Allah, but no matter the situation, we must use the occasion to reflect on how to better our society.
Amabwala Babs, my advice is that as people celebrate the Eid, social distancing is very important, especially in states where the governors seem to have declared their own states free from coronavirus.
All right, ACK Emeka, our Muslim faithfuls should please use the season of Eid al-Fitr to pray to God to heal the world.
Francis Obi says that it's important to maintain social distancing and as well as observe other NCDC guidelines, wearing a face mask and washing of hands. It's only the living that can witness the next Salah.
All right. Now, Ruben Nagberi, I commend His Eminence Abubakar Sa'ad III for his timely statement. All Muslim faithfuls should follow the directive and stay safe from the deadly virus.
Now, Abdul Tweet says, while I appreciate the current circumstance of my Muslim brothers and sisters, adherence to the instructions of our leaders is the best option. Allah knows why this is happening at this time. Please, let's be safe.
All right, Katake tweets, inasmuch as the world is facing this scourge, Nigeria's economy cannot withstand complete lockdown or we will face economic breakdown.
Cecilia Okoroma, can we all learn to tell ourselves and children that there is a new lifestyle brought on by COVID-19? Let us use this time very well to teach and accept the reality.
And Enoch Ayuk tweets, we need to focus more on the enemy around us because putting life first is the fundamental reason why we gather to pray. Let's pray at home and let those on the front line to do the fighting. God be with us.
Now, Yunus Yahaya says, please help me ask your guests, can I give Zakatul Fitri to my biological brother who is not working at the moment?
All right, please take note of that. This is coming from Ismail Oloyede. All right, I see Prof. And it tweets, it is very essential that we all do everything in moderation as we celebrate Eid al-Fitr. Of course, we must follow the regulations and protocols designed by our leaders because disobeying them is tantamount to disobeying Allah. Eid al-Mubarak. Eid al-Mubarak to you as well. Well, those are the tweets. We want to thank all of you for sending them in. Let's quickly, there was a question.
That's right.
Yes.
Says, this is Yunusa Yahaya can I give zakat fitri to my biological brother who is not working at the moment?
Please take it along with what should be the face of zakat giver, because it's an important and critical aspect of Eid al-Fitr.
Yes, thank you very much. And the correct answer to my own opinion to that answer is that you can, because your biological brother is not your direct responsibility. For instance, you can't give zakat to your wife. You can't give it to your son because you have responsibility. You can't give to your mother or to your father because those are your primary responsibility. But for other relations that Islam has not put their direct burden on you, it will be wrong for you, for your brother to be hungry and you are now giving it to a neighbor elsewhere. So once your brother is not your direct responsibility, giving him zakat is, in my own opinion, Allahu Alam, and I believe that is the position of Islam. Now,
sorry, I don't know whether you're true. I don't know. This is also related. I mean, the question has been in my head for a while. As part of the obligation during Ramadan, it's alms giving, but that's probably what's referred to as zakat, XYZ. Now, the uniqueness of 2020 is that we have seen, pardon this expression, almost an industry of palliatives.
Yes.
Everywhere you go, palliative. So how does alms giving or zakat also sync with this palliative industry?
That's what I asked. What should be the face?
Now, you see, in Nigeria, when we do things, we appear to be plastic about what we do. I was discussing with one farmer in Buhari where JAMB was located, and he said, you people that you went to school, I don't think you are thinking well. I said, what's the reason? He said, I'm a farmer. Somebody brought a 5 kg of gari, 5 kg of rice to me. I have enough at home to go, and even if you want to buy, I don't have people to say, you come to Buhari and you are giving me 5 kg of rice, 5 kg. What do I do with it? When I have excess, I think we have to be creative. And we have to also think of the circumstances. You will give people what is most suitable for them. We know that we give rice, we give all these things, but you can also monetize because you don't need to expose the carrier, the person that will be going to deliver. What is important is use your discretion to make sure that you can even give the money instead of giving the rice or and if you know what your neighbor needs, you know that the neighbor is a farmer, he has 2 bars of yam, but he needs something to do it. Give him what is suitable, what is appropriate for him to be able to do to deliver.
Thank you, Prof. Let's get to Kano. Sheikh Mohammed, I see you nodding your head in disapproval. Let's hear your thoughts.
Yeah. It's incorrect to monetize it because it's contrary to the Sunnatic practice. You see, the scholars are saying it is only Al-Imam Abu Hanifa, one of the canonical imams, that has the view of monetizing the Zakat al-Fitr. Imam Malik, Shafi'i, Abu Hanifa said no. Imam Malik, Ahmad ibn al-Abshir. They are saying the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam commanded that zakat in the hadith of Ibn Abbas, Abdullah ibn Umar, Abu Sa'id. Give zakat out of something aidable. And the scholars are countering the view of monetization, saying, are you saying the Prophet didn't know the need, of the common man? Didn't he know of the obtainability or ability of the money? Yet he said, give food. They are also saying, if those saying money should be given because he is more in need of money, if it is truthful, give him what the Prophet said. Give him money as well. Combine the two for him. So our view goes with the preponderant view of the scholars. Give food which is eatable. Give gari out of it. Don't monetize it because it is clearly against the sunnah. Though it's a view of some people, but it lacks really supportive proof. That is my answer to. That's why I was nodding saying no, disapproving of that, because al-ilmu amana. Maybe you may permit me to.
Thank you. But I'm sure you also know that these are unusual times. Restriction of movement and, of course, social distancing. Imam, what's your thought finally?
Yeah, well, you see, Prof talk on palliative. He did not restrict it within Zakat al-Fitr alone. He used the word palliative. So palliative can be given in cash or in kind. Zakat al-Fitr, yes, Prophet ﷺ has said we should give it within the food items, yes. But in a circumstance, in a situation like this, at times we have to monetize it just to suit the current reality.
Dr. Mohammed Kabir, Kingsley?
Nothing else to add. I mean, it's like time is run out.
Yes.
We're going to say that after Ramadan and indeed after the Eid celebration, there will still be life to live, and that life will still be under COVID-19.
Indeed.
What are the carry forward lessons from all of us? That will be for some other occasion.
Yes, all right. Dr. Mohammed Kabir Adam, Imam Abuja National Mosque, let me thank you very much for your thoughts. Let me also thank Sheikh Mohammed bin Uthman, Chief Imam, Mosque in Kano. We'd like to appreciate you very much. Thank you for your thoughts. Also, Usman Jibril, who of course is on transit, member National Moon Sighting Committee of Nigerian Supreme Council of Islamic Affairs. We wish you Chadimesi wherever you're going to within Niger. And finally, Professor Ishaq Olode, Registrar JAM, and of course, Secretary General, Nigeria Supreme Council of Islamic Affairs. Thank you very much, gentlemen, and we wish you Eid Mubarak.
Eid Mubarak.
Thank you.
All right, and that's it. And good morning, Nigeria, for today and for this week. We'll see you on Monday by the grace of God. And to all of you, we wish you Eid Mubarak. I am Claire Delapo Abdurrazak.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo, thanking you for being with us. As Claire said, we're back on Monday, same time, 7 o'clock in the morning. Stay safe and be well. And to our Muslim faithful, Eid Mubarak in advance.
I wish to once again commend the frontline workers across the country who, on a daily basis, risk everything to ensure we win this fight. For those who got infected in the line of duty, rest assured that government will do all it takes to support you and your families during this exceedingly difficult period. I will also take this opportunity to assure you all that your safety, well-being, and welfare remains paramount to our government. I am using this opportunity to express our deepest condolences to the families of all Nigerians that have lost their loved ones as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is our collective loss, and we share your grief.
This is the network service of the NTA.
A poem on COVID-19.
And we will share it with you, our dear esteemed viewers.
Miller, drop it like it's hot.
COVID-19, why have you made us stay home this long? Why have you made us this distance from ourselves and from our friends this much?
We should be a brother's keeper. We should stay with friends and play with them.
True. But you came and everything became abnormal.
Well, not ignoring the good you have done. We thank you for making some families know how to stay together.
For they hardly had time to be together until now.
We thank you for making some people love themselves more.
For they never knew how to live alone until now.
We thank you for making some people clean their hands and wash their hands.
For their personal hygiene is poor.
But COVID-19, weekdays are no longer how they used to be.
For we no longer rush on Monday mornings.
No TGIF, no slaying for parties.
Please let us live together with love and not fear as we used to live.
Let's hug and shake hands as we used to do, for we will continue to wash our hands and use hand sanitizer even when you're gone. I hope you get the drift.
Yes, they do. Welcome to Click Lights, your popular entertainment rendezvous. I'm Butswa Miller.
And I am Ekemini Williams. Good to have you join us on the program.